All right, we're on lesson 2 of Unit 3 now. It has the same poem as lesson 1 did, standing up by sitting in. And we have very similar vocabulary words. There's a new one that we're going to talk about. We're still talking about suffixes, so I'll review that. Point of view is a new topic in this lesson, and then a new focus for us is adage. We talked about idioms in lesson 1, where it's like a saying that's not literal. I put my foot in my mouth does not mean I'm putting my foot in my mouth. It means I said something I wish I wouldn't have said. So we're going to talk about adages this time. So I'm going to link the video for the poem if you would like to listen to that again. And then, of course, the script for you to be able to open and read through on your own. But I want to start by going over, do that first. So you can take a minute and pause and then go and watch the video or read the script and refresh your memory. And then let's think through some questions together. So what I want you to think about, and maybe you talk to your learning coach about this, or maybe you're thinking this out loud on your own, is these couple of questions to get your brain kind of rolling on the poem. Why did the children want to have a sit-in? What was their purpose? Why did they do this to begin with? So think about that for a minute. Maybe you write this in a notebook or you just have a conversation. Why were they dressed, or how were they dressed, and why did they dress that way? That's an important thing to kind of think on. There's a reason for it, and I want you to think about why. How did they plan to act at the lunch counter? Why? It tells you in that poem, if you go back and review, there's a reason why they made that plan. What was their reason? And then the other question to focus on is, what can you tell about Frank's character by what he does or how he's acting in the story? So again, you may need to pull up that story and reread it or listen to it again to answer some of these. But these should be things that kind of get you thinking a little more in depth about the story. Okay, going into our vocabulary. Characters we talked about in lesson 1. So those are the people or the animals that are in a fictional text. So for our poem, the characters would be the student, the waitress, Frank, the other people at the counter. Those are the characters. We talked about a drama is a play, a story that's meant to be performed in front of an audience. So the poem that we're reading is a play as well. So we could read that out loud. You could have people acting it out. There could be a movie. The characters you noticed have lines. So when I was reading it, I told you the name and then I read their line. If they were performing it as a play, they're not going to say their name in front of it each time. They're just going to read their part. And a new vocabulary word for this lesson right here is structural elements. So that is parts of a drama or a play that give explanations or instructions to readers or performers. So if you were performing in a play and you had a script, of course it's going to tell you your lines, but there would also be structural elements. It would tell you if your character was Frank. Frank walked up to the counter. So it's giving instructions that Frank knows, okay, I need to walk up to the counter at this point. So it's a task that they have to do, but it's not necessarily a line. It gives them some kind of instructions or directions. All right. Let's review suffixes again. I'm not going to spend a long time on this because it was in our first lesson, but just as a reminder, they come at the end of a base word and it changes the meaning. So depending on the suffix that you use, if the word is help, you could be helpful or helpless. Those are two different words because the suffix changes the meaning. If you're helpful, you're very full of help. You're helping those around you. If you're helpless, you're not getting any help. You're not giving any help. So again, those are totally different based on the suffix. Remember, it comes on the end. If suffixes are confusing to you or you're feeling a little confused about how to do them, I suggest going into this lesson a little bit further. It's a few slides in and there's some practice that you can do with suffixes. So definitely take that time if you're confused on what these are. All right, the next thing is the big main idea for this lesson, and that's point of view. So when we talk about point of view, we're talking about the viewpoint of a character or a person in the story or whatever it is in the story, how they feel about it. So there are different things you can do to help you identify the character's point of view by thinking about certain things. So if I had a question in my test, or somebody was asking me, what is so-and-so's point of view? These are some questions I could ask myself to help me figure that out. 1, in the story, the poem, the play, the drama, how does the character feel? What kind of feelings are they having? What's going on with them? How are they feeling about the situation? Then ask yourself, why do they feel that way? Are they upset? Are they happy? Are they mad? Why? What's happening? So you're kind of asking yourself these questions to get to the point of their perspective. Why do they think this way? Why are they feeling this way? And then how is this information, how does that feeling that they have or the reason they feel the way they do help you understand them more? So in the poem that we've been reading, or the drama that we've been reading, we have two different viewpoints, actually a few different viewpoints, but you could compare the student's point of view to the waitress's point of view. The students, their point of view is going to probably be from a perspective of where they're coming from. We shouldn't be treated differently because of the color of our skin. We deserve the same rights as you do. We should be allowed to eat at this counter just like everyone else. That's their point of view. That's their perspective. The waitress's point of view is, even if I think this is wrong, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my job. I'm afraid that there's going to be a violent outbreak. They have a different point of view because they're coming at it from different perspectives. And in every story, drama, poem, play, anything where there's characters involved, there's going to be different points of view. So you have to be able to identify what those are and why they have them. Why do they feel that way? How do they feel? Those are the types of things to ask yourself. Okay, and the last part of this lesson 2 that's new is adages. So I have this visual here for us. An adage is an old familiar saying that expresses wisdom. So these are sayings that you have most likely heard, or if you haven't, you probably will hear it. It's just things that give some kind of a wisdom. It states something that most people believe is true. So an adage would be something that we all pretty much agree on. Here's some examples. A penny saved is a penny earned. Well, we can probably all agree that if you're saving pennies, you're earning them, but it's a specific saying. It's like a little catchphrase that means something. If you save your money, you're building up a larger sum. A man is known by the company he keeps. Again, there's another adage, and it means who you hang out with is what you're like. So if you're hanging out with very kind people and people who do good things, people will associate you the same way. If you're hanging out with people who are mean, rude, and make poor choices, people might assume that you're the same way, even if you're not. So that's another adage. Another one, and I say this all the time, a watched pot never boils. So if you're standing at the stove and you're looking at your pot of water, it's like it's going to take forever because you're just sitting there waiting for it to happen. So these are sayings, and you can, of course, look these up online, again, with your learning coach, or maybe go into the lesson. There's a few examples there, but those are adages. Okay, and those are the basic new things in Unit 2. I'll link these slides there for you and the story again for you to review.